Namo Myo Renge Kyo. Hi, friends. How are you? I hope you're in good health and secure. Congratulations on your practice. I'm very grateful for your practice and your study, your being here. While you're here, take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already. New subscribers, welcome. Those of you, many of you, watch these videos and listen to the podcasts and haven't taken a moment to subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything, doesn't really do anything to you. I'm not saying you have to do the notifications. That can get annoying. But it's really helpful for the algorithms. And it's a Bodhisattva thing to do, to make the Sangha, these compendium of resources for others to find for their practice, to secure their correct practice, their information to inspire them to feel confident. That's what we're all here for, right? So thank you for that effort. And now, while I'm blah, blah, blahing, I have, as you know, I've been working on the Buddhism reference book. And I have gotten it to the point now where I'm at that dividing line where some old, early terms of Buddhism are still somewhat useful in our dialogue about modern, latter-day Lotus Sutra practice. Not a whole lot. Some of them are large terms and still more in the lexicon and the vernacular of Buddhism, though they're no longer really relevant as they were first introduced. And now we're getting on that borderline, right? I don't want to define every term from every canon of Buddhism because it really doesn't serve us any purpose. And you guys can look those up. Even though there's myriad definitions, if you study enough of them, you can get the gist. What's important for us is to practice Namo Myo Renge Kyo, the Lotus Sutra, the ultimate teaching of Shakyamuni, right? We're not 3,000-year-old people. We're not 1,000-year-old people. We have much greater capacity, and we also have much greater distraction. So this practice, the Lotus Sutra practice, is the practice suited for our epoch, our era, yeah? Mappo, the latter day of the law, as it were. So that's what this reference is about. It's about our practice, our current practice, and, some of the words have been around since the beginning, but there are a lot of new terms even that I've come up with to elucidate, to make more clear the meaning, right? And because of that, I wanted to create this book so that we're all talking about the same thing, understanding it, inculcating it into our practice, right? So the last video, I read the first entry in the new version of the book, and I'm not done with it, but I have ordered a proof copy so I can start marking it up and so forth, and I'm still open to suggestions. Which was attachment, right? Well, now this video is going to be the second definition, description, whatever, of the terms attitude and intent. Now, this is something you've heard me talk about a lot over and over again in different videos, but I'm trying to, again, condense it into an easy reference understanding of what is meant by attitude and intent. And I also had a thought experiment that I thought might help identify this attitude and intent. I think most, if not all of us, know already that we are of two minds. We have that mind that's constantly going through decisions, analysis, playing tapes in our heads, little conversations going on in there, thinking through problems, thinking through how we're going to communicate with our relationships, blah, 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 blah. But there's also, and sometimes it's not so obvious, but there's this other mind, if you will, this other consciousness in the mind that's watching all of that. That, you ever heard yourself think, stop thinking about that. Why are you thinking about it? Why are you thinking that? Why, right? We're in a dialogue in our own heads. Some people, it's very loud and we're aware of it. Others, we have different kinds of biology and tendencies and conditions, right? In everything, but certainly in mind as well. And some people have more of an internal monologue, which is these two minds conversing, and or an observer mind, and the other one just the monkey mind, just jumping around to everything, right? That's the most common, the most real, the one Buddhism certainly identifies. And some people don't have much of an inner dialogue, or it's not loud. It's not constantly yapping, if you will. But I think it's important to recognize that we're of those two minds. And I guess, I don't know if I'll do the exercise or not. I'll read what I've got as an entry in the reference manual. And then after I do that, maybe if I feel it might add something to the discussion, I'll do the little, my idea of a thought experiment. Should I do it first? I'm open to your comments on that too. All right. Attitude and intent. So I have, like I do with every term, I have some quick associations, descriptions, quickies that aren't very fulfilling, but they're indicators. Once you get used to looking at these definitions, these will be little touchstones. Oh, yeah, I see where that's going. Attitude and intent. The Buddha way. Pretty general, yeah. Second, maintain a perspective built on the awakened Buddha mind. That's almost the same statement. We're talking about a Bodhisattva way of being, yeah, quote unquote. Third, to be aware rather than attached. See attachment, right? And 4, compassion and supportive. All right, so these are all aspects, I would say, of attitude and intent, but they're not really helpful to understand attitude and intent. So I get into it here. Buddhism is about the mind. Of course, I say that all the time, right? And because of this fact, the stories, expedient or skillful means, lessons, and parables all dissect and analyze deeply the vicissitudes and volition of the mind from moment to moment. See karma. So, vicissitudes, fancy word. Volition. So there's these different aspects of the mind, and I should probably also say skandhas, not just karma. But the way our mind is constantly jumping around, in some ways making decisions, in some ways that second mind of ours, is pushing our monkey mind to consider doing something a different way, right? So there's jumping around, there's kind of pushing and pulling, a back and forth between our monkey mind that's, what about this, what about this, what about this? I want that, I want that, I want that. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And our second mind, our more adult, our parent, right, and sovereign mind, trying to focus all these monkeys, right? It's like herding cats, right? And somehow we manage to go through the day, quote, normally. Anyway, Nichiren, back to the book, particularly focuses strongly on this aspect of the practice regarding our resolve and strong mind of determination. Right? So I quote him here, single-mindedly determined to see our experience Buddha, right, is Nichiren's indication that our attitude and intent are critical in the effectiveness of our practice. Okay, I think most of us would say, yeah, I get that. But attitude and intent is much bigger than just when we're chanting, right? When we're practicing our training our mind, our GoHonzon mind, to experience and hang on to that perspective of experience of Buddha-ness, clearly, yeah, we have to have a strong focus and a determination. I am experiencing Buddha-ness, or Buddha. Open that door. Open that GoHonzon. Let me now be in Buddha-ness, right? However you say it, that's our resolve when we're sitting in front of our Butsudan, focusing on Myoho, on our mandala, and opening that mind. Yeah, I get that. There's attitude, there's intent there. Those are critical components. But attitude and intent goes far beyond that. What about the Bodhisattva life? How do we carry that on? This is where that little thought experiment I'm thinking of sharing with you might come in helpful. So in the book I go on, this is an exhortation to pay attention with the expectation of enlightenment when we invoke the ultimate law to experience Buddha. This very idea is the reason for the addition of the characters Na and Mu ahead of the name of the sutra. Na Mu is a declaration of our attitude and intent as we then invoke the engine of life. See Na Mu. Additionally, our perspective experience of the engine of life, our perceptive experience of the engine of life, as it occurs to us through our chanting or focused awareness, alters our experience of ourselves and our environment as a melding or unseparatedness that forces a very different engagement with our samsaric conditions. Right? Simply maintain that GoHonzon door of mind, that experience of Buddha-ness, and bring that experience of Buddha-ness to bear upon our day-to-day activities. We don't talk about that much, I don't think. I do, but I don't see it anywhere. It's taken for granted, I think, that this is the Bodhisattva endeavor, yeah? When we no longer identify ourselves as separate from all things in our environment, our sense of being becomes expansive, inclusive, right? And naturally empathetic to the point of no longer necessitating a view of a unique self, other, right? Though we remain a physical living being, we are much more fully integrated with all life and its processes. There are many terms and expressions to attempt to capture this realization in many languages. For Buddhists, it is enlightenment. And that's it. That's the entry I have for attitude and intent. It's Now, I guess this, I'll go ahead and give you this thought experiment because my concern as I'm trying to, encapsulate in easily digestible terms these descriptions, these ideas for you, I want to be sure that the depth of these terms, because they're, as you know, with all of the documentation, the scholarship of Buddhism, you just could talk and talk and talk about them, and you circumlocute an idea until all of us, in our own way, Renge. But I was sitting, working on this book the other day, and I thought about this, and the very act of thinking about it, and of course I chant in my head all the time, I sat up, and I put my shoulders back, and closed my eyes and started breathing. And it wasn't my intent to relax. It was my intent to sort of penetrate this idea as what is this attitude and intent? And this is where it became very clear to me that we're of at least two minds. You could say 9 if you go through all the consciousnesses, but let's not go crazy. And I noticed I was observing that monkey mind, just thinking about definitions and words and grammar and what should and not shouldn't say, what is meaningful, what is maybe not, maybe it's tangential and not that good, blah, 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 blah. And this other mind that I think unwittingly, really, I was trying to identify, because that's what we do. I was relaxing and I was thinking, and the more I thought about it, the more I remembered my analogy of the quanta of energy, which you might think photon, that was the first scientific labeling of what a quanta is in light. But quanta is everything. It's not just light. It's any formation of energy. It's in little tiny, teeny packets, right? Smaller than atoms, smaller than anything we've defined. It's that actual formation into is a quanta, right? Quantum. I was thinking about that. I was thinking, what if, with my eyes closed, I thought, what if we could see with our sight consciousness, we could fine-tune it so that everything that we visually saw, right, with our minds, we could see the actual quanta of forms. Quanta of the sky, the mountains, the trees, the chair, the aquarium, the fish, that when we looked through our mind's eye, we would see this roiling kind of cloud, like the recent pictures of what an atom actually looks like. It's not that circular, with all the ellipses around a core. That's an old diagram, not valid. If you look at go on Google and look for a modern picture of an atom, you'll see it's a cloud, and electrons are just kind of, they're never in any one spot, but there's a certain quanta of energy that they represent, and it stays a certain distance away from, depending on the electron, from the center. Mostly there's space, and there's just potential happening right there in the atom. It's exciting to look at and go, wow, this is what everything is made of, including us. What if, my mind thought, we could actually see that? Like, where there's no thing, just air, it would be very sparse, little dots, little grains of the Ganges, right? And where there was an actual physical thing, it would be more dense, like a denser cloud, a cloud of chair, a cloud of a wall, a cloud of a building, a cloud of you and me. And at that point where that vision of everything in my environment became, oh yeah, I'm part of that too. Now I'm a cloud of quanta along with everything else. Something interesting happened. There was this connection that happened, that unseparatedness that I wrote about in the book, and my shoulders fell. My shoulders just, and I became, my observer mind went, look at that. Oh, look what else happened. As soon as my shoulders drooped, my head adjusted itself, like it re-found a center of balance on my spine. And I was sitting comfortably, but in that pose that Shakyamuni described, sitting up, relaxed, but straight, shoulders back, not forced back, just a good posture. Like there was a screw eye attached to the top of my skull and a little string attached that to the universe, the atmosphere, and I was almost like a marionette. It was just supporting my weight just enough to keep me kind of buoyant. And I thought, man, it just happened as I was thinking about this integration, right? This equanimity. From my little example of everything is quanta, including ourselves, the separateness of things and self, it kind of vanished without even thinking about it because we were all the same stuff. I thought, what an interesting place to be in my head. And I kept thinking about that and wanting to stay in that thought. Difficult, the monkey mind going, hey, over here, right? And then I thought, oh, that's interesting too. It's like I have this completely other voice. And the monkeys are getting really quiet. Not because the monkeys are quiet, but they're being pushed out of the way. I'm not listening to them. I'm more in this is fascinating. And then I thought, if I could maintain this into my daily life, in traffic on the road, in a supersized Walmart, if I could be like this, holy crap, I would experience other people completely differently. I would probably have, and then I recognized as I was thinking about this, that my face was relaxing and I had this kind of silly look on my face, not smiling, but not drooping, just kind of, I don't know, what do you call it? Content? Not a fan of that word, but kind of that archaic Greek smile they talk about, right? Not really a smile, just humming along. My jaw relaxed. I felt my ears move down. My forehead flattened. And I thought, you know what? That's the attitude. That's the Bodhisattva attitude of coursing through the world in the Buddha way. Keeping this perceptive reality on and making sure the monkeys, they're out playing in the sandbox. They're cute. They're entertaining. And then I thought, well, obviously, as I'm in this sort of a quietude, but integrated, I'm going to see others who are fully engaged in their monkey minds. And where that would normally annoy me, let's be honest, I would now see those people as in the grips of something they don't need to be in the grips of. They really don't, and it's hurting them, even if they don't know it. And it made me not sad, but it made me want to somehow reach out to them. I empathized with their stuckedness, yeah? And I thought, oh, there's that Buddhist compassion that we're always talking about. It all comes from this mindset. And guess what? That is attitude and intent. Within the context and the scope of our Buddhist practice. This is the attitude intent of Bodhisattva. Right? So there is, on the one hand, as Nichiren points out constantly, the attitude and intent of hanging on to Buddha, meet Buddha single-mindedly. Don't be distracted by the monkeys. Be committed. Know that Buddha-ness is there for you to experience. Just do it. But then, how do you carry that through in your daily life? That's Bodhisattva. That attitude and intent, you could say, is equally important. And perhaps much more difficult. So, that was my little blah, blah, blah on trying to recognize what attitude and intent signifies. It's not just one thing, it's one thing in different conditions and tendencies, yeah? I hope that's helpful. I hope you're enjoying these little talks. Of course, they're going to be available in podcast form as well. I thank you for listening, for your study, for your practice. Stay healthy. Be kind. Use this experience, this thought experiment. Hey, you might even want to do it for a minute or two in front of your Butsudan before you start to chant. What would it be like to chant with that precognitive experience of attitude and intent, and then calmly, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, right? Savor it. Right? Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one. Keep those suggestions coming. I appreciate you. And I'll see you again. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Bye for now.